Hi, I'm Hubert Centers. Welcome to Absolute Wealth's weekly edition of Centers Strategies. Let's take a look at this week's strategy.
Okay, let's take a look at this week's strategy. We're going to learn how to invest in IPOs. And the next hot IPO that's due out to release any day now is Groupon. All right. So when most people invest in IPOs, they usually tend to think all about opportunity risk, or in other words, they're afraid of missing the next Amazon, Google, or God forbid, Apple. And let's face it, nobody wants to be that guy or gal that missed that opportunity. The only problem with thinking about just the opportunity risk is it tends to make you pull the trigger at the wrong time for the wrong reasons. So there's an old saying on Wall Street: there are old traders and there are bold traders, but there are no old bold traders. So what we're going to do is we're going to be more concerned, we're not going to be so concerned about the return on our investment initially as we are so much concerned about the return of our investment. There's a big difference in that thinking. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at the most recent hot IPOs. We're going to see how they performed in this market climate or environment, and we're going to compare that, and then we're going to formulate a plan in order to either pass on Groupon or wait for the pullback and buy it. All right, so let's take a look at it. So the first one we're going to look at is Zillow, and the symbol is Z, and I'll write that on the chart so that you can see that with my handy dandy marker, Z, and that's just Zillow. So you can obviously see that it had a really good open, and then it sold off the first day, and then continued to sell off, and then retraced. Interesting pattern. And you can also see that it's saying stay short or do not be long. And when you want to start looking at this indicator is when it turns blue. All right, so potential buy here. So let's see if any of the other hot IPOs this year, how they perform. So we've got Pandora, oddly enough, about the same pattern. We're already starting to see a really good common pattern here. We had a gap, not a gap. Sorry about the gap comment. I trade a lot of futures and it just looked like a gap. So we had an open, obviously, here, and we had a close here, and it had a run up and then sold off. Also sold off, had a little double bottom here, and then you had a buy signal here. And then you had this run up and then sell off. About the same pattern as we had in Zillow. Now, let's take a look at LinkedIn. LinkedIn's probably the oldest IPO we've had. It, oddly enough, has had the exact same pattern. Looks like it's going to go to the sky and sells off, bottoms out, and then what we've got happening here is we've got a nice little blue bar here telling us to potentially get long. This one actually retraced up more. All right. So what we're going to do is we're going to use a Fibonacci for a target, and we're going to use this as an indicator. And if you don't have this indicator, it's not a big deal. All you have to do is calculate 6 bars back, and as soon as it closes greater than or equal to 50% of that range, then you know to pull the trigger. It's just a real simple math calculation. I just like it done in an indicator format. It just makes it more visual for me. So let's switch back to Pandora here, and I'm going to show you what it looks like on all 3 of these, and we'll walk you through it and you'll know how to handle it. So what we're going to do is we're going to go from the high of that move to the low of this move, and we're going to get long when this turns blue. So that's going to be in this area, and then our target is going to be here, $19 to $20. Now, it doesn't look like we're going to make much money, right? But what we're doing is we're lowering our risk, where everybody that bought it here is just taking a beating on it. And then it gets up to here and they're going like, okay, I'm almost break even. Okay, it's almost there. And then it rolls back over and dashes their hopes. Now, you can't usually short an IPO just because it's not available. But at this time, it might be available. There might be enough inventory out there that you could do that. So you can either go long at these lows with this as your target, or you can let this come up here and short this with a rollover with a stop right here in this area. So let's see if that same theory would have worked with the Zillow. And we're going to use the Fibonacci's also. And 1 and 2, and worked pretty good, but our target wasn't hit. So not perfect, but it's still a really good working strategy. Now let's see how it worked out with LinkedIn. And on LinkedIn, yeah, it worked pretty good too. 0.1, 0.2, And then we're going to come in here and look at getting potentially long in this area, which is right in here. And then our zone for our target is here. So we're long here, we sell out there. So overall, it's a good strategy. What we're going to do is we're going to wait on Groupon for 8 to 10 days, because that's how this is firing off for most of them. And then we're going to potentially look to get long Groupon. So what I'm doing is I'm recommending that you don't initially buy Groupon, but let it sell off first and then purchase Groupon. And then you can place a stop at those lows and then get long, and then use your target of 50% from the high to the low. So when you start looking at IPOs, start looking at past IPOs in the current marketing climate, and if you can, pick the same sector. If not, just current IPOs, because that'll tell you a lot about what the market's doing in general in the IPO space. And then also, you're going to wait at least 8 to 10 days before you pull the trigger. Now, this is not the 90s, so you can't just buy things high and sell them higher. It's a little bit different market environment now. So what we're going to do is we're going to wait 8 to 10 days, and then we're going to pull the trigger first time we see blue and a bottom formation, and then we're going to target a 50% retracement. Good luck, hope it helps, and I'll see you next week.